The Cats of Consciousness by Joseph Kelly, Chapter 4, Values and Priorities, Compass of the Soul. A cat's values are simple: comfort, food, and the utter conviction that they deserve both. Unknown. Watch a cat make decisions and you'll witness a masterclass in clear priorities. When faced with multiple options, a sunny windowsill, a moving toy, or a food bowl, a cat rarely agonizes over its choice. Instead, it moves with natural grace toward what matters most in that moment, guided by an unwavering internal compass. While our human lives may be more complex, we too possess such an internal guidance system: our values and priorities. Deep within each of us lies a sophisticated navigation system, one that constantly influences our choices and actions, whether we're conscious of it or not. Like the Earth's magnetic field that guides migrating birds, our values provide an invisible but powerful force that shapes the direction of our lives. Yet unlike our feline friends whose values remain relatively simple and consistent, human values can be intricate, layered, and sometimes contradictory. Consider Victoria, a successful corporate lawyer who found herself increasingly restless despite her achievements. During our work together, she discovered that while she valued excellence and financial security, values that had guided her career choice, she also held deeper values around creativity and social impact that weren't being expressed in her current path. This recognition began a profound journey of realignment that ultimately led her to establish a non-profit arts organization for underprivileged youth, where both sets of values could find expression. Our values form through a complex interplay of inherited wisdom, personal experience, and conscious choice. Like layers of sediment forming rock over time, our value system develops through accumulation of life experiences, cultural influences, and personal insights. Understanding this formation process helps us work more consciously with our values rather than being unconsciously driven by them. Think of Tim, who grew up in a family that strongly valued academic achievement. While this value served him well in many ways, he discovered during a period of burnout that he had never questioned whether this inherited value truly aligned with his own authentic priorities. Through careful self-examination, he didn't abandon the value of learning but redefined it to include emotional and spiritual growth alongside intellectual achievement. While values represent our core principles, priorities reflect how we allocate our attention and resources in daily life. Think of values as the constellations by which we navigate, while priorities are the actual course we chart through the waters of experience. The alignment or misalignment between these two creates much of the texture of our lived experience. Janine, a young mother and entrepreneur, struggled with constant feelings of guilt and inadequacy until she examined the relationship between her values and priorities. She valued both family connection and professional achievement, but her daily priorities often skewed heavily toward work. Rather than judging this pattern, she began experimenting with different ways to honor both values through more conscious priority setting. "I realized I was trying to be available for everyone at all times," she shared. "Instead, I learned to create clear boundaries around focused family time and focused work time. The quantity of time didn't change dramatically, but the quality transformed completely." Like a cat that knows instinctively whether to chase the mouse or run from the dog, we benefit from having clear priority hierarchies. Yet human priorities often require more conscious cultivation. Consider how priorities might shift in different contexts, while values remain relatively stable. Robert, an emergency room physician, developed what he called his nested priority system. In the ER, his immediate priority was always patient survival, but this sat within broader priorities of patient well-being, team functionality, and personal sustainability. This clear hierarchy allowed him to make split-second decisions while maintaining alignment with his deeper values around healing and care. The true test of values lies not in what we claim to value, but in how we live. Much like a cat that might claim to value sharing but hisses when another cat approaches its food bowl, we sometimes find gaps between our espoused values and our actual behaviors. Rather than cause for judgment, these gaps offer valuable information about areas requiring attention and integration. Consider these common domains where values express themselves. Relationships. Notice how your values influence who you choose to spend time with, and how you show up in those relationships. Amanda discovered that while she claimed to value honest communication, she often avoided difficult conversations out of fear. This awareness led her to develop skills that allowed her to align her behavior more closely with her values. Career. Our work life offers a powerful arena for living our values. Michael, a corporate manager, realized his value of environmental stewardship felt compromised in his current role. Rather than immediately changing jobs, he found ways to introduce sustainable practices within his organization, eventually creating systemic change that aligned with his values. Discovering our true values requires more than intellectual analysis. It demands deep listening to the whispers of our heart and the wisdom of our experience. Like a cat that knows the perfect sunny spot in each room, we too have an innate sense of what truly matters to us, though this knowing can become clouded by social conditioning and external expectations. I often guide clients through what I call the life review method for uncovering core values. Think of moments in your life when you felt most alive, most fulfilled, most deeply yourself. These peak experiences often point toward our authentic values. Diana, a corporate consultant, recalled a summer spent volunteering in a remote village. What struck me wasn't just the work we did, she shared, but how alive I felt living simply, focused entirely on meaningful contribution. It helped me recognize that simplicity and service were core values I'd been ignoring. Consider also your moments of strongest reaction or resistance. When do you feel your hackles rise, like a cat encountering an intrusion into its territory? These reactions often signal violated values. James discovered his intense frustration with certain workplace practices pointed to a deep value around autonomy and creativity, a recognition that led him to reshape his role to better align with these values. Understanding our values provides the foundation. Translating them into daily priorities requires practical wisdom and regular attention. Think of priority setting as creating a map for the territory defined by your values. This map needs regular updating as circumstances change, while the territory, your core values, remains relatively stable. Here's a practical framework I call values-based priority setting. First, create what I call a values inventory, not just a list of abstract principles, but a rich description of how each value manifests in your life. Lisa, an artist and mother, described her value of creativity this way: "It's not just about making art, it's about bringing fresh perspectives to everyday challenges, finding beauty in ordinary moments, and teaching my children to see the world through imaginative eyes." Next, examine your current commitments and activities through the lens of these values. Like clearing a cluttered room, this often reveals commitments that no longer serve your core values. Peter, a community organizer, realized many of his committee memberships had become routine obligations rather than expressions of his values around social justice and community building. This awareness allowed him to reallocate his time more meaningfully. Finally, develop what I call priority anchors, regular practices that keep you connected to your most important values. These might be daily rituals, weekly reviews, or monthly reflection periods. The key is establishing rhythms that maintain alignment between your stated values and lived priorities. The real art of values-based living emerges in the small moments of everyday choice. Like a cat that maintains its dignity whether lounging in sunlight or chasing shadows, we can learn to express our values consistently across all life contexts. This doesn't mean perfection, rather it means maintaining conscious awareness of our values as we navigate daily challenges and choices. Consider the morning routine. Elena, a mindfulness teacher, transformed her rushed mornings by aligning them with her core values of presence and self-care. Instead of checking emails first thing, I now start with a brief meditation and gentle movement, she explains. It's not about the specific activities, it's about honoring my values from the first moments of the day. Even mundane decisions become opportunities for value expression. Mark, an environmental scientist, found ways to align his value of sustainability with daily choices about transportation, food, and consumption. These aren't just practical decisions, he shares. They're moments of values affirmation that add up to a life of integrity. Perhaps the greatest challenge in values-based living comes when different values seem to pull us in opposite directions. Like a cat torn between chasing a bird and staying dry in the rain, we often face situations where multiple values compete for expression. Rather than viewing these conflicts as problems to solve, we can approach them as opportunities for deeper integration and understanding. Consider Hannah's experience as a healthcare administrator. Her values of compassionate care and fiscal responsibility often seemed at odds. Rather than choosing one over the other, she developed innovative programs that enhanced patient care while improving resource utilization, finding creative ways to honor both values simultaneously. When facing value conflicts, try this approach I call values integration. 1. First, acknowledge all values involved without judgment. Each represents an important aspect of your authentic self. 2. Explore whether the conflict exists at the level of values or merely in their current expression. Often what appears as value conflict is actually conflict in implementation. 3. Look for higher-order solutions that honor multiple values, even if in unconventional ways. 4. Remember that different values may take precedence in different contexts without compromising their overall importance in your life. While core values tend to remain stable, their expression often evolves as we grow and circumstances change. Like a cat that maintains its essential nature while adapting to new environments, our values can find fresh expressions while remaining true to their essence. Patricia, a retired educator, found her value of contribution taking new forms in her elder years. Teaching was my way of contributing for decades, she reflects. Now I express that same value through mentoring young teachers, writing about education, and being present with my grandchildren. The value hasn't changed, but its expression has deepened and expanded. To support your ongoing journey with values and priorities, consider establishing these regular practices. Daily values check-in. Take a few moments each evening to reflect. How did my choices today reflect my core values? Where did I feel alignment between values and actions? What opportunities for value expression did I miss? How might tomorrow offer fresh opportunities for living my values? Weekly priority review. Set aside time each week to examine your calendar and commitments through the lens of your values. Do my planned activities align with my stated priorities? Where might I need to make adjustments? What value expressions am I missing? How can I create more alignment in the coming week? Monthly values exploration. Dedicate time each month for deeper reflection. How are my values finding expression in my life? What new understandings have emerged about my core values? Where might my values be evolving or deepening? What adjustments might support greater alignment? Looking ahead. As we prepare to explore standards and expectations in our next chapter, carry with you this understanding of how values and priorities shape your experience. Notice how your internal compass guides your choices, even as you develop greater consciousness around following its direction. Remember, like our feline friends who never doubt their right to pursue what matters to them, you too can move through life with clear values and conscious priorities. The key lies not in perfection but in persistent attention and gentle realignment when you drift off course. Your values are not just abstract principles but living forces that can infuse every moment with meaning and purpose. As you continue this exploration, trust that each small step toward greater alignment creates ripples of positive change throughout your life and relationships.